You know, Victor, if you keep coming down here, one of these days, we'll make you stay.
This week's episode is definitely a slower pace. We get some not so big reveals with Fatima and a potential huge one with Tabitha and her past and how it ties into the town, and I'm going to get to that. But first of all, I'm Al, this is the Geek in Review, and I'm going to be talking about Season 3, Episode 6 of From. Now, I really appreciate you taking the time to watch the channel, and if you haven't done it already, please subscribe, and if you make it all the way to the end of the video, leave a like as well. So this week opens with Tabitha waking from a nightmare in bed with Jim. She still feels guilty that she didn't try and do more or prove where the townspeople were when she was back in the real world. So it seems that she's got a little sort of post-reverse PTSD survivor's guilt, if that's what you want to call it, I suppose. Lead to an argument between the two, and we haven't really seen them go at it like this before. I mean, is it another sign of growing tension in the town or whatever it is that's feeding on that? I'm not entirely sure. Despite all that's going on, especially how last week's episode ended, life sort of seems to have returned to whatever normal is back in the town. They're still dealing with the food situation, but this episode seems to be solely focused on the Matthews. Jade shares his finding with Boyd about the symbols and what he's been seeing and how the faraway trees work. He tries to science it all out, but obviously it doesn't really make sense because it doesn't really make sense. But he thinks the trees, the symbol, and Miranda all having the dreams do mean something and are connected. Boyd tells him about another bottle tree that he found at the end of Season 1, which also contained dates like 1864, which matches a number Jade's already found in one of the other bottle trees. So, of course, he wants to go and find it. And when he does, he starts seeing visions of bartender Tom telling him that nature has a design and not any of what he's looking at because it's all something that's been made by someone or something. Henry and Victor are trying and doing their best given their circumstances to reunite, but what I found interesting about this scene is if you notice the painting behind Victor, they have focused on it a few times this season already, and it kind of looks like Victor's version, if you look a little bit closer at it, at what Jade is laying out, but obviously it's from Victor's point of view, so it isn't as methodical as Jade. Henry's trying to get to know his son, but Victor still wants to find Jasper, but doesn't want his dad's help. And remember, Henry doesn't fully understand everything about the town yet, so Victor is sort of trying to save his dad here. He does tell Henry the plan on the way to the caves, but he decides to try and go in alone, also without Sarah. So yeah, where is she this week? Henry doesn't want to leave his son after finding him, so of course he insists on going with him. And I did think, oh, are they going to redshirt Henry, and is this the scene they're going to kill him, a bit like the paramedics a few episodes ago? But he does make it all the way to the end. But once they get into the caves, Jasper isn't where Victor last saw him, and all the objects that we've seen at the start of Season 2 are now gone as well. So of course Victor wants to go deeper in to find this. They come to an opening in a cavern full of the objects that I mentioned earlier, including Jasper and some of the sleeping creatures. When they're trying to leave, Henry notices that one of the items is his wife's, and the creatures react to them in a very weird and creepy way.
You know, Victor, if you keep coming down here, one of these days, we'll make you stay.
I mean, they easily could have killed them, but seemingly letting them go, that is very odd, and it's not the first time we've seen it this season. They just done it a few episodes as well with the whole Boyd and the ambulance thing. So why do the creatures not want to kill Victor and his dad? Although it's daytime, is that how it works? Do they have a bigger plan? It's kind of hard to say, but let me know what you think in the comments below. Why were these two guys allowed to live? But they do manage to get Jasper the puppet with all the answers, so I suppose all it has to do is talk. Christy tells Boyd there's a portable ultrasound on the new ambulance and of course wants Fatima to get a scan. So are we going to see a baby with horns or something like that, I guess is the question on everyone's lips. And Fatima seems to have told Ellis everything, well maybe the whole not drinking blood stuff, but the secret's out anyway. Worried about how everyone else is going to react, she still wants to keep it between them and of course Tilly, and Boyd arrives to tell them about the possibility of using the ultrasound, which, when you think about it, is a bit of a curse and a blessing depending on how it's going to go. Boyd can definitely sense that something's up between them and decide to bring him in on the secret as well. And although he doesn't really openly say it to them, you can tell that Boyd knows that none of this is going to be good news and sort of presses them to go ahead and get the ultrasound scan. They do decide to go ahead with it, and Christy notices that, well, there's nothing on it, meaning that there's no fetus inside Fatima, or at least not one that shows up on the scans. Remember, Ellis took a photo of her earlier on in the episode, and I did wonder, is she going to appear in it, or is she going to be like transparent or opaque or something like that? Because they really seemed to focus on that Polaroid camera last week when they found it, and they've not really done. And speaking of the photos, Ellis does develop, or at least waits for the Polaroid to develop, and notices the woman in his visions in it, and she's telling him again that this is all a dream as Fatima's photo appears normal. So I guess that's the theory out the window. They don't really do anything with it, but yeah, he's just found the Polaroid camera, I guess. Randall finally wakes up and is as charming as you'd imagine. He asks Marielle if she's okay after being trapped in the visions at the end of season 2, and he's worried whatever they went through might happen again and isn't over. So I guess they're setting that up to come. Speaking of going back to season 2 plot points, Tabitha starts to see the demon children again, doing that whole weird chant thing. She's at home with Ethan at the time, and he's literally feet away and doesn't seem to hear them at all. So they decide to go and help Jade with his research, and he tells them about the second bottle tree and that the numbers in the bottles are all the same. But they do seem to be written by a different person at least. Some numbers also seem to repeat, so even more convinces Jade that there is a pattern or plan to all this. Tabitha sees some of the drawings that Jade's made of the scarecrows that they found outside the cabin earlier on in the season, and the 3 red stones that he's seen in his vision as well. And we get a sort of flashback here where we see a sort of similar scenes with the red stones, but it's just a different time of year. And this is all a dream that Tabitha had as a child. And that's kind of where the episode ends. So the big reveal here is, like Elgin and like Victor's mum, Tabitha was dreaming of the town long before she arrived. And this is a kind of twist out of nowhere, and I'm not sure how I feel about it. Because Tabitha has literally been in From since the very first scene, episode 1, and at no point in the first 3 seasons has she mentioned any of this, so it does seem a little bit strange, but hey, I wonder where they're going to go with it. I guess the question is, what did she see in her dreams, and what does she know, or what is she going to remember that's going to impact the rest of the season? Victor's now in a position where we're going to find out what happened with Christopher some 40 years ago. I hope they don't drag this out in episode 7 and we just get an answer straight away, because they've really set this up since sort of mid-season 2, so we kind of need a bit of a payoff. This episode was much slower than the ones that have gone before, with most of the focus being on Tabitha, Victor, and whatever happened to Randall. But with only a few episodes to go, I do wonder how this show is going to go on and if they are going to give us some answers, because as I said earlier on in the video, we still don't know anything about anything really. I'm still really enjoying the show, although it might sound a little bit negative there, but as always, I want to hear what you guys think. What does Tabitha's dreams mean? Is it maybe actually a memory? And also, what's going to happen with Marielle, Julie and Randall, because the dream things seem to be coming back, and I'll be honest, I've got no idea where that's going to go. So if you made it this far, leave a like on the video, and if you haven't done it already, subscribe to the channel. As I said, you can leave a comment below, or you can reach out to me on Twitter at The Geeks Reviews. My name's Al, and as always, thanks for watching.
You know, Victor, if you keep coming down here, one of these days, we'll make you stay.